aids the user in the long run and maximizes the benefit of the institution's funding for information services. When the Library Information Center provides such assistance, it does not deny the user access to other electronic resources. One advantage of electronic collection building, compared with building print collections, is more effective tracking of who is using the information and what resources he or she has used. Typically, an online system can gauge the physical collection in terms of what's going out in what areas and frequency, but not necessarily who or what category, which you can do more with library cards. Many of the better commercial electronic products have management report software that allows one to learn how, when, and what classification of user accessed the material, as well as the type of search. One gets more accurate and complete data with less effective controls. It is up to librarians to make effective use of the data to provide the right information at the right time at the right cost. E-resources share two unfortunate characteristics with audiovisual materials: quick rate of change and instability. These issues make the processing of some e-materials challenging, especially the web or internet materials, in that they may not remain fixed in the way print materials do. Most people have run into the experience of doing search for a website and not finding a working website. If you're lucky, there is a transition page provided with an address. But just as the address is unstable, so is the content of the site. Some list document last modified on, another message is under construction. Both messages make it clear that what you see today may not be available tomorrow, or may not be what the customer sees at all the next search they do. The basic question, however, is whether e-resources are really so different as to require radical changes in processing. The fact that libraries are leasing, renting, or pointing people to the data does not really change the acquisition process. Certainly there are echoes of the old approval plan and a free trial of purchased resources. In the past, library status was, at least in part, a function of the size of the collection. The more volumes, the higher the status. Changeable packages from vendors make for variable counts, assuming that one counts databases, and create fluctuating statistics that are difficult to quickly explain to non-librarians. When adding a print item into one's OPAC, one has a reasonable expectation that the only time one needs change the record is if the item is withdrawn. With websites, if one adds a record to the OPAC or points to it, that means either someone must check the site on a regular basis to make sure any needed adjustments in the OPAC records or library records, or that the library must accept the fact many such records no longer reflect reality. Although it's possible to automate the process of checking links, it still requires people power to check content, make decisions about any needed changes, and input the new information. Types of electronic materials. Let's talk a little bit about full text, which is a major type of electronic resources. Full text is probably the most challenging and replete with many options. Full text material comes in 4 formats: online, CD or DVD, print, and microform. In some cases, there are cost differences when both print and electronic formats are available. Vendors typically will make a deal to lower the cost if you purchase both. An advantage of having both formats becomes obvious during, for example, a network outage, when users still have access to the print version and one owns it without further cost. For customers, another issue can also be downloading online images, which can take a long time. Online versions may also contain multimedia elements such as sound or video that are not possible in a print version. One of the oldest efforts in digitizing existing books is the Project Gutenberg. The original goal of the project was to have 10,000 titles available, a target long since passed, as the collection now numbers over 13,000 titles. Titles in this project are all public domain items, basically meaning they're no longer covered by copyright. Another project more recent was announced by Google in late 2004. This web search service has partnered with 5 major libraries, including Harvard, the Oxford University, and the New York Public Library, to digitize collections and make them available online. The ultimate success of the project remains to be seen, but it's certainly one of the most extensive initiatives attempted to date, and still creating lots of controversy. Music. We need to include this in our discussion of electronic resources because music in a recorded form is available on the internet. Some of it's free and some of it's for a fee, whether it be MP3 files or streamed. One of the issues in terms of music and access in a library is you have several resource vendors that provide music, but they tend to do more classic titles because of copyright and the cost associated with getting popular materials. So unlike iTunes, which has very popular titles, you'll tend to find access to music in libraries online, not so much popular music. Numeric databases have long been part of library or information centers collecting activities for at least 25 years or longer. Generally, libraries acquire these data sets, such as the U.S. Census, on tapes or on CD, and put into the system. Today, many of these numeric databases can gain access online. When considering numeric collection building, one must remember that these tend to be very large files, and format or capability or compatibility may be an issue to consider.